Good afternoon. I'm Councilmember Ben Kallos, and I've had the honor of representing over 168,000 New Yorkers on the Upper East Side, Midtown East, East Harlem, and Roosevelt Island in the City Council for 7 years, 1 month, 20 days, 12 hours, 31 minutes, and 48 seconds, but who's counting? If this is your first time joining us, welcome. If not, welcome back. Every year, we gather to hear speeches and performances and to share our vision for the East Side. But we all know it's mainly about the bagels with Ben. I wish more than anything that we could be together right now. What I wouldn't do for bagels with Ben and lukewarm coffee. But I thank you for joining us virtually. Since this pandemic started just under a year ago, I've been particularly thankful for first responders to essential workers and those in the community who have really stepped up recently and over my time in office. Now, more than ever, we are all in this together. As always, we will open with a benediction, this time from Reverend Roy Cole, and some words from our sponsors, colleagues in government, before I come back to update you on the state of our district.
Hello, my name is Roy Cole, and I'm the interim rector at the Church of the Epiphany, and I'm honored to be asked today to offer this invocation. I invite you to pray together now. O Creator and Sustainer of all life, look with compassion on the whole human family. Take away the arrogance and hatred which infects our hearts. Break down the walls that separate us. Unite us in the bonds of love, and work through our struggle and confusion to accomplish your purposes on earth, so that all peoples may serve one another in humility and self-giving. Endue with your spirit of wisdom those we entrust with the authority of government, that there may be justice and peace amongst the people of this vast city. And finally, we commend to you all those who are in any way afflicted or distressed in body or mind, especially in this time of pandemic. Help us to heal those who are broken in body or spirit and to turn their sorrow into joy. By your mercy and grace, hear our prayers and the good intentions of our hearts, now and always.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous flight over the ramparts we watch, we're so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave over the land of the free and the home of the
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm Dale. On Inauguration Day, Amanda Gorman inspired the nation with her reading of The Hill We Climb. The poem I'm going to read today, The Gathering Place, was written by Gorman in 2017 and first performed at the 92nd Street Y here on the Upper East Side. On the corner of East 92nd and Lexington, under congested incandescence of pulsing city, the world bends itself into a village. Here, our great gathering place, a space on hot, laughing earth, where we stretch room for others beside us, where closed doors are far too tight for the giant that is hoped to grow. Every idea, an open sea, every voice, a boat voyaging the bank of blue. We, a village, a dancing city, meet among the music of concrete and steel, where subway cars ride the beat of hustle and heel. In this village, we string together the continents in the palm of one building. With one microphone, we streak across the globe like an eclipse. We strike our plans into stone, and from this, we build a summit worth climbing, a goal worth reaching, a world worth building. Like this place, our village is one of striking shapes and deeds, where cultures and languages drive like seeds. These are the types of villagers we are. We eat away our hunger with our appetite for goodness. We breathe rivers into throats with our voices for change. Today, in the spine of this meeting ground, new city, new village, we've reached a summit and are ready to loudly name another. This be hope, this be home. We are hope, we are home. We be vigilant, we be united, we be good. We do good, we are good, as we should. In the place where a millennium stood for what we understood was right. On the corner of Hope and Drive, under the question of open sky, sprawls our great gathering site. In this village, we make the globe a little smaller so we can dream bigger. So the dream need not wait. Here in this gathering, we do good so that the world might be great.
Thank you to Reverend Roy Cole, Sandrea, Dale, and the Main Street Theater. That was wonderful. It is now my distinct honor to introduce our elected representatives, starting with United States Majority Leader Chuck Schumer.
Hi everyone, this is Senator Chuck Schumer, and I'm so glad to join you in celebrating the great work of one of New York's great public servants, Ben Kallos. I've known Ben ever since he was a rising star in politics, and I know how hard he works. He's always fought to give the people of his district a seat at the table in city government. Since Ben started representing the 5th District in 2013, he's been a fierce advocate for people at every level of society by creating economic opportunity for all while strengthening the social safety net. Over the last 7 years, Ben has painstakingly proven to his constituents that local government can work for the people, not for narrow special interests. So it shouldn't surprise anybody that despite everything the last year has thrown at us, the state of the 5th District under Ben's leadership remains as strong as ever. We all know this has been a hard year, the worst public health calamity since the Spanish flu pandemic, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, and a few weeks ago the nation watched in horror as a band of radicals, white supremacists, bigots, extremists assaulted the U.S. Capitol. That attack on the Capitol was an attack on democracy itself. But as scary as that moment was, our democracy endures. Last month, thank God, we finally celebrated the inauguration of President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris. On the same day, the Senate turned to Democratic control under the first New York-born majority leader in American history. Guess who? I'm humbled. And I promise I will fight for you each and every day I serve as majority leader. And working together with President Biden, we'll hit the ground running to finally get this pandemic under control. We got a good head start at the end of last year by passing $1 trillion in COVID relief. We worked very hard and did a lot for New York, but I'm especially proud of the bill that I worked on to secure $15 billion for Save Our Stages Act, a lifetime for independent movie theaters, independent venues, and Broadway. and other live entertainment spaces that were the first to close and will be the last to open. The COVID bill also provided hundreds of billions more for our schools, for small businesses, for minority-owned businesses, and hundreds of billions in vaccine funding, direct payments to low and middle-income individuals, expanded unemployment benefits, rent relief, SNAP funding, and $4 billion for the MTA, so the subways, including the Second Avenue subway, won't be cut back. So that bill was a good start, but we're going to do more in the weeks and months ahead, increasing the stimulus checks from $600 up to $2,000, extending pandemic unemployment insurance on through the year, allocating more resources for vaccine distribution, and we will do more with the Restaurants Act, which we push so hard to help our struggling restaurants. I have proposed a new relief fund of $25 billion in flexible grants for 6 months as a lifeline for New York's restaurant industry, and it has bipartisan support and will go in the bill. We're going to get all these things done, but even as we work to defeat this pandemic, we can't patch over the wounds of the last few years. We have to go further by reversing the systemic challenges we face as a nation: economic inequality, racial injustice, climate change. I promise you we'll prevail. We'll do it together as a community with great public servants like Ben leading the way. So thank you to Council Member Ben Kallos. Thank you to the community leaders. Thank you to all who care so much about this district and our city. Here's to brighter days ahead.
Hi, I'm Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney. I'm so happy to be here with you today to celebrate Ben Kallos' service to our district. We're going to hear all about it in his district report. I thank him especially for all his hard work as co-chair of the East Side Esplanade with me. He has brought hundreds of millions of dollars to beautify this park area for our city. He's a hard worker and a producer and a deliverer in all our essential services: education, healthcare, transit, you name it, he works for it. I can't wait to see what he does next.
It's a privilege to speak to you in this moment about the state of your district and of our city, a moment of immense obstacles, but also of opportunity for change. Right now, many of the challenges faced on the East Side are being confronted by New Yorkers across our city, of compounding crises in a pandemic, a reckoning on racial justice, and an absence of leadership in our highest offices, in addition to the many systemic issues that the pandemic has only exacerbated. But we know two things are true: that we are facing immense obstacles and that we can and will overcome them. The people predicting that New York City cannot recover from these crises lack faith in our city, imagination toward our capacity, vision of our future, or a desire to be a part of that work. Leadership in the face of these challenges is about fulfilling a positive vision, to know the right path, then determine how to achieve it. I've had the pleasure of working with your council member, Ben Kallos, for years, and I know he truly does care about the people that he serves and the government where he serves. In his final year of office, I know he's extremely focused on making sure he leaves District 5 in the best position for the next and future representative. With true leadership, New Yorkers will partner in progress. New York's problems are still here, but so are New York's people. So are the people who give the community in District 5 its character, its voice, and its strength. I know we can get through this together. Peace and blessings to you all. Love and light. My name is Jamani Williams, and I'm your public advocate.
I'm Gail Brewer, Manhattan Borough President, and I'm here to talk about Ben Kallos, and it's an honor to do that. It's fun to work with him. He has done so many things that really support the district. More school seats, fighting for the Esplanade. He worked with us on Isaac Homes. He worked on SYEP, homeless housing, Sutton Place, making sure that the god-awful building that was proposed did not happen. Open, transparent, fair, ethical government, and he means it. And then all the food policy issues, helping to codify the Office of Food Policy. Healthy, happy meals. That's excellent. No soda. We want milk. We want things like fresh fruit juice and water as the default. All of these things are Ben Kallos, brilliant. People say, I know about technology. I don't know anything compared to Ben Kallos. He fights night and day. He's got the time when you can come and participate with him as a constituent. He has hours, days. Everything is for you. And that's why I have a great respect for Ben Kallos, because I believe in constituent work, but he takes it to a whole other level. He also teases me. We tease each other in this crazy world of government and politics. You need somebody like that. So congratulations for pulling off in this pandemic a town hall, Ben Kallos, and also you have a great staff. That makes a difference. And I love working with you. Thank you very much.
Hello, I am Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams. It is my pleasure to bring greetings to Council Member Ben Kallos and his annual State of the District event. Over our years in government, it has been my pleasure to work with Ben in a host of areas, partnering on advocacy to close the digital divide among our students and families, partnering on bills to improve nutritional standards for grab-and-go meals, and advocating to bring public safety into the 21st century by allowing the New York City Department of Buildings to conduct building inspections using drone technology. New York City works best when all our boroughs work together for the common good. I thank Councilmember Kallos for inviting me to bring greetings from across the East River and for working with me and my team to bring change and progress to our city. I look forward to continuing to partner on future projects together. Thank you.
Hi, this is Liz Kruger. I'm the state senator for the 28th district, proudly having Ben Kallos' city council district mostly overlapping with my Senate district. Hello, all you Roosevelt Island people. I'm not yours, but I think about you whenever we have events like this. So we're not doing anything live anymore, as we know. It's all virtual. So I appreciate Ben giving me a minute or two to participate in his 8th district speech. I'm not even sure city council members used to give district speeches before Ben, but apparently it's caught on because now I get invited to multiple council members' district speeches. I'm a senator and I haven't figured out how to do a Senate district speech, so I'm glad Ben does his council speech. People who know Ben know that he works pretty much harder than any other human being you and I have ever met in our lives. And that he has more ideas for what should be done than almost any other people we know in our lives. I will tell you, I don't agree with all of his ideas. How could you? And I don't expect anybody to agree with all of my ideas. But if there's a problem that people believe government should figure out how to solve on their behalf, and you sit down with Ben, pretty quickly, you're going to get 2 or 3 options thrown at you about what government might do. And I have to tell you how valuable and refreshing that is, because we need more people who understand the problem and think they have ideas about how you solve it. Because understanding the problem but not knowing what to do about it is really just the half of the loaf that frustrates people. Coming up with ways that we can address the problem, ways that we can avoid ever having the problem, those are what you get the extra brownie points for in government. So Ben's a very young man, but he's already built up a very large supply of extra brownie points for all of his good work. I know he's going to have a wonderful continuing career in government, because I think that that's just where he ought to be. And I appreciate his inviting me to speak to you today. Enjoy the event.
Hi, this is Assemblyman Robert Rodriguez. It's a pleasure to be with you at the 2021 State of the District Address and talk a little bit about the partnerships that we have had with Ben Kallos and the council member on making some really terrific achievements in the East Side. We've been able to make a significant investment of almost $250 million on the East River Esplanade, including the East Harlem portions above 96th Street and the Pier 107, which is something very near and dear to my heart. For the last 5 years, the council member and I have been fighting to champion investments all along the Esplanade when we've seen holes and huge gaps and basically can see through the Esplanade to the river. We knew in partnership with the Congresswoman that something had to be done, and it's literally taken us years to get to this point. But it's just a testament to the perseverance, the spirit of teamwork, and the collaboration and the persistence needed to be able to bring changes to our city and bring things that were much needed in the Upper East Side to fruition. So that's just one example. It's been a pleasure to work with him on other issues around affordable housing. And it's really great when you have a partner who understands the needs of the district, can see things and needs beyond the district, including my passion and desire to see New York City public housing improve significantly for all the residents of the city, and find somebody who we can work with to make those changes a reality. So I just want to say thank you for having me. Thanks for inviting me, for creating that spirit of partnership all across the East Side of Manhattan, and in particular, making sure that El Barrio is connected.
Hi there, I'm City Council Member Keith Powers, and I'm so pleased to join Councilmember Kallos for his State of the District. It's a different type of State of the District this year, and certainly we're still, as a city, trying to stay safe and healthy, but I think we all appreciate the opportunity to get together and talk about the issues facing our community and those issues facing the whole city right now. I'm really grateful for Councilmember Kallos' leadership during this really difficult time in our city, and always happy to have his partnership and all the elected officials' partnership here on the East Side. We are going to have a tough year ahead of us, but I know that we'll all stick together, stay safe, stay healthy, and recover out of this moment altogether.
This has been such a wonderful event so far. I'm confident we have some of the best constituents and a great team of elected officials representing us here on the East Side. Having grown up on the Upper East Side, I cannot express how much of a dream it has been to represent you for the past 7 years. To be honest, at times in my life, my dream was simpler. Just to be able to stay here, in the city where I grew up. If you talk to people in so many parts of the country, they'll tell you that their only dream was to get out of the place they grew up. But here in New York, we struggle to stay. Together, we can fix that. We spent every one of the past 2,608 days working to make it easier. I hope that the work we've done as a community over the past 7 years had made it a little bit easier for New Yorkers to stay in the neighborhood they love, to raise a family here, and to grow old here. And as we recover from this pandemic, I believe if we set our priorities right, we can make that a reality for all New Yorkers. I believe in accountability and an open office. Whether it's doing something that only Leslie Knope would do with our monthly First Friday, policy night, offering free legal services, or supporting local agriculture at our fresh food box, we work for you. I'll even make house calls for Ben in your building at your co-op, condo, or tenants association meeting. The pandemic hasn't stopped us, and you can join us on Zoom. The truth is, it isn't about me. It's about making this office your office and what we can accomplish together. In that spirit, and thanks to the miracle of Zoom, to quote LeVar Burton on Rating Rainbow, you don't have to take my word for it. You'll hear directly from our neighbors and leaders who have helped make life better for all of us. I grew up right here in Manhattan. I graduated from the Bronx High School of Science and our state university system. I want everyone in New York City to have access to the same world-class public education. The pandemic has turned our lives upside down, and that is especially true for students, parents, and teachers. When the city announced the return of in-person learning, there was widespread support followed by apprehension without a real plan to reopen safely.
Hi, I'm Nadia Levy. My son goes to PS 290. Last summer, I raised concern with some other 290 parents about the fact that we lacked a permanent school nurse. And with the return of in-person learning and at the height of the pandemic, this just seemed unacceptable. They then informed me that this was not even just a problem at PS 290, but rather a citywide issue. We decided to launch a petition calling on the Department of Health and the Department of Education to provide schools with permanent and stable school nurses.
When Nadia Levy launched her petition, we joined with parents and students throughout the city to force Mayor de Blasio to hire 400 new nurses to guarantee a full-time nurse for every school. Remote learning only works if you have internet, which has only highlighted the digital divide in schools that had already created a homework gap, something we've been working to fix since long before the pandemic. Working with Tish James, we secured affordable internet through Spectrum Internet Assist for students on free and reduced school lunch. When the pandemic started, at the suggestion of Silicon Harlem co-founder Clayton Banks, I asked Spectrum to offer free broadband to students learning remotely, and they did. Over the past 7 years, we've invested $6.5 million in technology for public schools so that every student going to school in the district went home with a laptop on the first day of remote learning. But there are still more than 5,000 low-income students of color throughout the city without an internet device. We've joined with public advocate Jamani Williams, Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, and Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer to author legislation to guarantee every public school student who needs one a laptop with broadband. New York City public schools are more segregated today than they were at the time of Brown versus Board of Education, with schools segregated around neighborhoods created by racist government-enforced redlining that continues to this day. With every student learning remotely, former Black, Latino, and Asian Caucus co-chair Robert Cornegie and I saw a historic opportunity to desegregate classes and achieve educational equality online. We wrote Mayor de Blasio and Schools Chancellor Carranza proposing the creation of a new, desegregated, citywide school district to serve every student enrolled in all remote learning. The New York Post wrote an editorial in support, and the chancellor has been talking about the idea, though it still hasn't been implemented. Imagine the public education system we could create using technology to overcome systemic racism and segregation that has been physically built into our city. The worst part of my job is when someone tells me that they're moving out of the neighborhood because they can't afford it. Usually they mention childcare.
My name is Shannon Burkowski. I'm a parent of 2 children on the Upper East Side. Universal pre-K spots on the Upper East Side were very hard to get. When my older daughter, Lily, did not get a spot at all in 2014, we had to pay for private school, and this meant spending more for our family. In the years since, I have seen the work from Ben Kallos' office pushing the city to build schools and open pre-K centers. And now the district has 5 times the number of slots that it did back when we first applied in 2014.
We only won those seats working with parents like Shannon, parent groups, providers, the Department of Education, and the School Construction Authority to win these new seats. The pandemic has shown us that the need for universal childcare is greater than ever before, starting with winning 3K for all from the tip of Manhattan to Central Harlem. You can join the fight by signing the petition at benkallos.com/3K. When children were being turned away from schools in my district, I authored a law to force the Department of Education to tell us how many kids are applying for every school seat, along with how they decide where to build new seats. That forced the city to fund 800 more school seats in my district. We're currently working to build the new schools in the neighborhood, but we need to build new, desegregated schools all over Manhattan. I was raised by a single mom. We shared a room living with my grandparents. I was on free and reduced school lunch, and I was so ashamed for other kids to know how poor I was that I didn't eat. That's why I fought to win breakfast after the bell and to make school lunch free. Now I'm fighting to feed every child a dinner, which is already federally funded, complete with universal after-school we can do right by our public school kids. Taken together, I believe that if we meet children's basic needs for food and positive relationships, we can fulfill Maslow's hierarchy of needs to end the schools to prison pipeline and give an entire generation of children a bright future. When the newspapers declared New York City dead, I was reminded of Mark Twain saying, "Rumors of my demise are greatly exaggerated," and authored an op-ed on what makes our city great. TLDR, it's you. But as we seek to recover, we should be cautious of settling for a return to an old normal that never worked for many of us. We must prioritize and achieve real racial, economic, and criminal justice to rebuild a city that works for all of us. On my first day as a council member, on New Year's Day 2014, my first meeting was with Rockefeller University. I can still remember the frosted grass crunching under my feet as I walked across their lush campus. One priority we shared was never losing top talent to another city and growing jobs right here in the neighborhood, which we're doing with a new biotech incubator on the Rockefeller University campus.
Here on the Upper East Side, there's tremendous research that goes on in the life sciences. And in terms of bringing those benefits to humanity, one of the things that's missing is actually a place for startup companies locally. And it's really important for startups at their beginning phases to be local to where the research was initiated. So with this new life science biotech incubator, we will have solved that problem for the Upper East Side and be able to provide those jobs and cures and treatments to the world.
Not only do we need to build more jobs, but we need to make sure people can retire with dignity. Unfortunately, more than 1 million private sector workers in New York City do not have access to retirement plans through their employers. We can fix that with Retirement Security for All, a bill that I introduced in the City Council, but was blocked by Donald Trump and Steve Bannon. With a new administration in Washington, we will again push to offer every hardworking New Yorker who doesn't have one a retirement plan at no cost to employers. If a year of social distancing taught us nothing else, it's that we need our parks, especially those of us living in tiny apartments in the densest neighborhood in America. Thankfully, we've been investing in our parks to upgrade places like John Jay Park, where we got new basketball courts, and Carl Schurz Playground, where we just unveiled a brand new $2.3 million playground funded by my office and Borough President Gail Brewer. When I took office, the East River Esplanade was literally falling into the river. Over 7 years, co-chairing the East River Esplanade Task Force with Congresswoman Maloney, working with Jennifer, Community Board 8 and 11, Assemblymember Robert Rodriguez, and Councilmember Diana Ayala, we have secured $874 million to rebuild and expand the Esplanade as a resilient waterfront.
I founded this organization to make sure that the next generation has a beautiful waterfront that everyone in the community can enjoy, from this area where I live on the Upper East Side to East Harlem, because really we're all one big community. It's all contiguous, and the waterfront is a place that everybody loves to be. It's a natural human instinct to want to run, walk, relax, and just enjoy the waterfront.
While parks have offered an oasis from our tiny apartments during the pandemic, we need to build a city for all of us, not just billionaires, a city where anyone can afford to raise a family and grow old. Despite all the obituaries for New York City pointing to vacant apartments as proof of our untimely demise, I can tell you firsthand that the affordable housing crisis hasn't gone away. I ran for city council because I saw Billionaires Row as a failure, with no one willing to do anything about out of control, as of right construction that was tearing down affordable housing to build buildings for billionaires. When Billionaires Row threatened to displace Herndon Worth and Charles Fernandez from their rent-regulated affordable housing in the Sutton area, we kept them in their homes and founded the East River 50s Alliance alongside Alan Kirsch to win the first of its kind grassroots community-led rezoning to limit height and win affordable housing.
Affordable housing that exists within our community would have been purchased by developers, low-income people removed, and these properties redeveloped into super tall towers within our mid-blocks and on the avenues within the Sutton area. We think that the prior zoning, having been unlimited height zoning, would have allowed at least 6 other super tall buildings. And had this occurred, it would have forever changed the character and the context and the contextual architecture of our community. It would also have displaced and changed the economic mix of our neighborhood, removing a segment of the population that could afford to live there and replacing it only with people who could afford to live in the mega towers.
Now we are working with Community Board 8, the East 79th Street Neighborhood Association, and groups like Civitas and Friends of the Upper East Side Historic District to require new buildings over a certain height to include affordable housing. We want a huge victory by closing a loophole that developers were using to build buildings for billionaires with empty voids in them instead of affordable housing for real New Yorkers.
I think that without the step that the city took, we would have started to see not only buildings with more mechanical voids, but we would have started to see greater exploitation of other zoning loopholes that exist. There are all different ways to get creative in interpreting our zoning, and I think we're seeing some of those already, but I think without this text amendment, we would surely see a greater range and more common use of zoning loopholes across the board to create buildings that are really not what we want to see in our city.
Our victories upset the status quo, where profit-driven planning often dictates spot rezonings to give developers a windfall at great cost to the community. When the mayor proposed building new housing on public housing property, I said I would only support this housing if it was 100% affordable, gave 100% preference to existing residents, and had community support. When NYCHA proposed building a 50-story tower with luxury housing between the two homes' towers on a children's playground, seeking to avoid my veto in the council and over the objections of the community, we mobilized.
I am Sandra I. Coleman, a co-founder of the Homes Isaacs Coalition. Since mid-2015, I have been leading opposition to the NYCHA infill proposal at Holmes Towers, a private development and developer that failed to consider the residents who it would negatively affect most. After years of fighting against the privatization of our space, with support from the council member, the project's application was finally withdrawn and NYCHA began a new community engagement process, this time centered around residents.
The Blood Center has been seeking to build a new, tall tower for as long as I've been involved in government. 2 proposals were defeated at Community Board 8 Manhattan when I first served. Another proposal was rejected by Borough President Brewer, Senator Krueger, and me last term. Not one to take no for an answer, the New York Blood Center is moving forward with a plan to build a 330-foot tall tower that would leave St. Catherine's Park in shadow starting at 2 p.m. many months of the year. Hundreds of residents have come out to First Friday, been in your building, Community Board 8, and the Department of City Planning to express their opposition and concerns. As the project goes through the environmental review process, stay tuned for your next opportunity to speak out and add your voice at benkallos.com/petitions. As someone who has been a tenant all my life, we once had a landlord spike our rent and force us out during a difficult, high-risk pregnancy. Living through this pandemic in a market-rate one-bedroom apartment with my wife, daughter, and my cat Pandora, I can tell you firsthand that even with thousands of vacant apartments, Manhattan still has an affordable housing crisis. Developers get billions in tax breaks to offer affordable housing that never seems to materialize. Corrupt politicians get thousands in campaign contributions, and tenants like us, we paid for it all. That's what we learned from Stephen Werner, a whistleblower and hero at HPD, and why I authored the law to put hundreds of thousands of affordable homes back on the market. And you can apply right now to affordable apartments in our district at housingconnect.nyc.gov. The fact that I have always refused big money from real estate developers, corporations, and lobbyists freed me to author this law, along with building and preserving over 1,000 affordable apartments in our district. A symptom of the affordable housing crisis is homelessness. 18,000 children woke up this morning in a homeless shelter. Together with 17,000 family members, they are the face of homelessness in our city. That's why I founded the Eastside Task Force on Homeless Outreach and Services, ETHOS, with Borough President Brewer and Senator Krueger to do our part to help. And we've built supportive housing all over the district, including across the street from where I live.
Good afternoon. My name is Fred Schack. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Urban Pathways. We are a nonprofit here in New York City providing services to chronically homeless New Yorkers, with the one objective being to assist them in finding permanent supportive housing. We've worked very closely with Councilman Kallos to develop housing options for New Yorkers in the upper part of East Harlem. And that program has operated for a couple of years now with great success. We also worked in partnership with the council member to publish an op-ed that really talks about the ways that the city can work to provide better housing solutions for homeless families and homeless single adults. And I would really welcome an opportunity to work with any member of the community who's interested in helping us to create long-term permanent solutions to address chronic problem of homelessness, as the councilman has been working on for a number of years now.
This past fall, our prayer for more solutions to help the homeless on our streets was answered with a proposal for a new safe haven shelter to be built in the East 90s. I was so proud to work with Ethos and community board members to secure unanimous support for the project at Community Board 8 Manhattan. We heard from everyone from our faith leaders, like Reverend Roy Cole, to young activists.
I'm Dale. I'm an 8th grader at Eastside Middle School, which is right across the street from where a safe haven for homeless people will be built. Homelessness in our city is a crisis that we are all witnesses to. We must all work together to help people who are living on the streets and in need of resources. I am impressed and inspired by the work Community Board 8 and Councilmember Kallos are doing to help ensure that our neighborhood is welcoming to those in need.
I ran for office to lead by example, to show residents and other elected officials they could do things the right way and win. But that alone didn't work. We can't beat the affordable housing crisis when the majority of elected officials are under the corrupting influence of big money from real estate, corporations, and lobbyists. That's why I authored the new full public matching campaign finance system that more than halved the amount anyone can give from $4,000 to $1,500 and matched every small dollar up to $175 with 8 public dollars, so that a small dollar contribution is actually worth more at $1,575. It is allowing candidates to run the right way and win. In fact, everyone running for city council in this district is refusing real estate money, and I couldn't be prouder. You wouldn't believe this, but when I started, the city council wasn't a full-time job. So I wrote the law that made it illegal for elected officials to moonlight as representatives for real estate developers. And then I wrote the law that made Lulus illegal. Lulus were literally a slush fund for the speaker to pay council members directly if they gave up their independence. Like 80% of New Yorkers, I don't own a car, which means if I'm getting anywhere, it will be relying on public transportation. That's why we've been focused on improving commutes. We opened the 2nd Avenue subway with Congresswoman Maloney, one select bus service to speed buses along with off-board payment, won hundreds of new buses with USB chargers and Wi-Fi, and even won 2 ferry stops for the Upper East Side and Roosevelt Island. Commuters have more options and a faster commute today than they did 7 years ago. But we can do better for our environment and make it safer to bike or walk where you're going. As an island, Manhattan needs more safe crossings, something we fought for alongside Queens Councilmember Jimmy Van Bramer and advocates like Bike New York.
Bike New York works with elected officials and community groups throughout the city to bring bike education to various communities, in particular underserved communities. And we love doing this as that's part of our mission to bring the joy of biking to people at the community level, at the street level. And we do that by making sure that we teach them bike safety, including rules of the road and how to navigate an urban environment.
Just last month, Mayor de Blasio announced the dedicated bike lane on the Queensboro Bridge that we've been fighting for so long. Now, public transit is just one part of minimizing our carbon imprint and saving our planet. They say the first step to fixing a problem is acknowledging the problem. During the Trump administration, climate change denial was official public policy, and we needed to do something about it.
We are in a climate and ecological emergency. The government acknowledging the scale and severity of it is a first step towards taking the action needed. With other members of Extinction Rebellion, we worked with the City Council to author a resolution declaring a climate emergency, and it passed in a matter of months. As we rebuild from COVID, we need to redesign our systems to mitigate and adapt to the effects of the climate crisis. We won't rest until we are collectively working towards a better future and planet that is inhabitable for all.
Beyond declaring a climate emergency, we as a city also had to lead by example by reducing our biggest source of carbon emissions, and that's our buildings. We also need to cut back on other pollution. Banning the sale of plastic water bottles in our national parks reduced litter and waste by tons. Then Trump reversed it, and that's why I introduced legislation to do it here in New York City parks. In response, last year, Mayor de Blasio signed an executive order implementing our law. The new order will reduce the purchase of single-use plastics by city agencies by 95% and cut carbon emissions by about 500 tons a year. This has been a very difficult year. When the COVID-19 outbreak first began, we did not have the resources we needed from the Trump administration to keep New Yorkers safe. We set up a clearinghouse to secure N95 masks and PPE for the state, city, and hospitals. We also saw a special need on Roosevelt Island, where we've worked with REAC President Shelton Haynes to secure emergency care, PPE, testing, and vaccines.
In the beginning pandemic, it was like no other. The Roosevelt Island really showed its resiliency and its collaboration as a whole with New York City aligned. We had residents alike create masks, offer water supplies to our staff. We have several essential employees that drive buses, a public safety team, and it was a really good showing of partnership between the community and our REAC personnel. Our counterparts in the city were equally as supportive, donating PPE, lending their voice and their hand at any point in time. Together, we can win this battle if we stay vigilant and work together.
I'm proud to have worked with health and hospitals to open 350 beds to add surge capacity and treat coronavirus. Working with Shelton Haynes, we brought testing and now vaccines to Roosevelt Island. If you are eligible and would like to receive the vaccine, reach out to my office and we will help you secure an appointment. If the pandemic has taught us anything, it's that we're all in this together and everyone needs healthcare as a human right. That's why I worked with the Obama administration and will work with the Biden administration to achieve barrier-free benefits, where you automatically get what you qualify for so we can keep New Yorkers healthy and fed. If it isn't clear by now, we are able to achieve so much through our partnership with the community. Our office is your office, which is why we've been able to accomplish so much, from face mask distribution to the achievement that got me reelected in 2017.
Everybody, Andrew Fine from the East 86th Street Association checking in to say hello to Ben and to thank Ben for all he's been doing for the community over the last several years. Working with Ben, we have put new spill-proof garbage cans on every corner in the district, doubled sanitation pickups throughout the area. We have added supplemental cleaners called the Wildcats to help facilitate additional cleaning where it's needed on demand. I appreciate that on the part of Ben. We've also sited and installed hundreds of tree guards.
With every corner covered, we are now working with Wildcat to help people get back on their feet while cleaning up the neighborhood 4 days a week, sweeping sidewalks and bike islands, cleaning gutters and drains of blockages, and removing bags caught in branches and litter from tree pits. We've even been power washing our sidewalks alongside Congressmember Carol Maloney. But keeping our streets clean isn't just about keeping the trash off the ground. As of today, there are 9,384 sidewalk sheds covering 344 miles of sidewalk in New York City to protect us from falling bricks as the city literally crumbles on top of us. It's bad for business and it's bad for quality of life.
When the Second Avenue subway construction started under our doorstep, they did nothing to secure our building, and they put up a scaffolding which is still up so that no one would get hit by the bricks falling off the building courtesy of the vibrations of the big boring machine. So our building was left to decline. So Ben, Tirso, and Debbie worked with our lawyers, Gribble and Lejudas, to try to make things right.
After hearing stories like Jane's, I authored legislation to force landlords to quickly make repairs when sidewalk sheds go up so the building is made safe and the scaffolding comes down. The Department of Buildings adopted many of the reforms I proposed, but we still need to pass my package of legislation so that there are laws in place to follow. Finally, New York City is the city that never sleeps, but that shouldn't be because of construction noise. We've heard from countless residents like Richard McIntosh who had to endure years of construction from early mornings to late nights and weekends. That's why I authored the law that just went fully into effect that places much stricter limits on construction noise near homes before 7 a.m. and after 6 p.m. on weekdays, as well as any time on weekends, so we can all hear ourselves think and maybe even sleep a little bit better. The state of our district is strong. Not because of what I've done, but because of what we've been able to accomplish together. That starts when you pick up the phone and call us, when you email us, respond to a tweet, or when you come to First Friday and connect with your neighbors about your shared situation with a solution to make things better.
And it's just a wonderful opportunity to sit down with Ben, to sit down with other people who's in his district. You have different ideas, you come from different backgrounds, but you all are on equal footing. And you get to see and hear what is bothering you, why you're having an issue in your same district.
I hope you'll join us. We've already done so much, but in our final year, we have so much more left to do. I've been your council member for 7 years, 1 month, 20 days, 12 hours, 53 minutes, and 12 seconds. What can we accomplish together in my remaining time in the City Council in 10 months, 7 days, 11 hours, 7 minutes, and 36 seconds?